Welcome to Steel City Growth. I'm your host, Bill Ildenfritz. Each week, we'll explore the passions, expertise, and experiences of business owners and founders in the greater Pittsburgh area. Steel City Growth is proudly sponsored by Murphy Business of Pittsburgh, committed to providing exceptional services to meet all your business needs. Let's dive in.
You know what the truth is? But no one tells anybody?
Yeah, tell me.
Don't quit.
Yeah.
Don't quit. That's it. Don't quit. I don't care what it takes.
Today's guest is a person who has mastered the world of business and finance, from an extremely successful career in financial planning and now making waves in private equity. We're going to talk about his journey, lessons learned, strategies used. This is definitely going to be an insightful conversation. Jon Arnold, welcome to the show, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much for having me.
It is great. I've been looking forward to this podcast for sure. So tell me first, take me back at the little John. Did you always know you're going to be running and growing successful companies?
It's a double-sided answer. No, on the investment side, because my parents were very blue collar. My dad worked at General Motors. My mom, master therapist. Great people, gave us a good life. You know, we didn't hurt for anything. Sorry for the cough.
No problem.
But you know, there was no Disneylands or weekly vacation. You know, a lot of things that some of our wealthier friends had. I always knew that I was going to be successful in something, and medical was my journey. My first career was nursing, paramedic, and I was on a pre-med program at Youngstown State. Honestly, that stuff come easy to me until I get to my third year in the program, which is in inorganic chemistry, organic and quantum physics, those kind of classes. Now all of a sudden, I had to study. And you have to have a 4.0 to maintain that curriculum. And I was working 3 jobs at the same time, pay for my apartment, labs, tuition, car, etc. So I had to make a switch into business. And then one led to the other, and that was very hard for me. People see me now, it's like jiu-jitsu. People see me now, and they think that business was just like my forte. It's just the opposite. I was really, really probably last in my class. That's the truth. Something about me is and this happens in roles, people hate rolling with me because I refuse to submit and I refuse to punt. The same thing in life. I just refused to be average or below average, and I just hung in there and studied and got my own strategy, and one thing led to another, and here we are.
That's awesome. I didn't know about the paramedic. I'm actually a volunteer paramedic myself at Lake Milton.
Okay.
So I didn't even know that. That's awesome. Well, I'll tell you what, you touched on jiu-jitsu, so I'll ask those questions first, actually. What has jiu-jitsu taught you about business?
Patience, that even in the worst scenarios, you're going to be all right as long as you have a breath. Mechanical. I have a very non-mechanical mind. I'm that guy who can't change his oil without screwing something up. You want to know about numbers or medicine or whatever, I'm your guy. If you want to know about anything mechanical or art, I'm not a very good artist as far as musical instruments, singing, notes, those kind of things. It kind of guided me in that dimension to where when I do something, it's very methodical, it's very strategic. Mm-hmm. Versus just wing it and then hope for the best. Because being in jiu-jitsu, if you go against somebody who knows what they're doing, you're going to get smashed if you try that strategy. So jiu-jitsu also, people know me from playing football and sports growing up in high school and in college. I was very athletic and very gifted. That was not the case in jiu-jitsu. It took me a longer time than usual. It took me a longer journey to get to where I was respectable on the mat, so to speak. I'm much better at the MMA part, but getting me on the ground in the first couple of years, I was toast against somebody with decent skills. So it was the same journey. Just, hang in there, take your beatings, eventually survive, and then you're the one giving some beatings.
Yeah. No, I'm a huge believer in taking that one breath, and that's helped me in business as well. So I agree. To take that one breath, which leads you to another breath, which leads you hopefully to another breath. What's one white belt mistake that you still make today?
Oh, I get my back taken in half guard.
Yeah.
Every single time by the good black belts or good brown belt that sees the opening. If I'm in their half guard and I don't position right under their armpit or turn the rudder, and sooner than they get up on me, they take my back, and then it's bad news from there.
Yeah. All right, one last jiu-jitsu question. Do you think everybody should get a black belt? Like if they just stay the journey, do you think everybody should get a black belt? Or what's your thoughts on that?
Not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. As a matter of fact, I fought, the guy that you train with is directly responsible for my blue belt. Jim Bundy, an amazing guy, very good teacher, very, very good businessman, man. My 2 professors, Tony Rinaldi and Joe Scarola, Joe Scarola's an MMA fighter, Matt Serra's first black belt, an amazingly gifted fighter. I mean, he's He's amazing. And then Tony Rinaldi is a very good teacher and a really good black belt. He's getting up there in age. His shoulder, he fights with one arm, if you can believe that. His shoulders can't move. But they just promoted me to purple belt, and I begged them not to. And for the same reason that I don't believe in time belts, and I don't believe in, attaboys and back and pats on the back, that I do not believe you should get any kind of colored belt unless you've earned it. I'm an earn it guy. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm not saying I'm wrong. My heart is an earn it guy. So I just want to be the best at whatever I do, and I don't feel like I'm the best purple belt.
Agree. When I take that test, I always feel like I'm not ready yet for sure. So I totally respect that. So let's turn to the business world. Tell me, over the last couple of years, what's been going on in your life in the business world?
I sold wealth management, the JR Wealth Management Company, for I think the number was $12 million. I sold the building that we housed the real estate and mortgage company in for a good number. We made a couple bucks on that. I sold the real estate company to Dennis Ganatis, that was my broker and general manager. And I still have the mortgage company, but I let my buddy Ryan Freilich, he basically owns it. I own it, but he runs it. I get a little override. I did it more. He's such a great person. His wife was my office manager for a long period of time. They had a baby. They just had another baby. I'm the kind of guy that I want you to come out better if you're in my world than when you left or than when you initially came in. And so I keep that open for Ryan, and he's making a really good living. His skills and his talents are really shining through, and he's a great dad and a great husband. I'll keep that open as long as Ryan wants to keep open. But all in all, I sold those companies, or I let Ryan take over that one. And I'm now into the private equity markets to where I'm opening up 3 funds. The one fund is a real estate fund, pays a 6.5% dividend. AAA real estate. I just recently purchased a Rite building in Columbiana. We should close this week on that. I have companies. I'm not saying this as the companies, but we have companies like Verizon or Starbucks or ER medic type of medical in there. Class A rate leasers. And I'm going to continue to buy that kind of space and rent it out between 28 to 32 square foot, including CAM. And then, they'll get the investors will get a 6.5% dividend, which is obviously about 3% more yield than a money market. And then they'll get 80% when we sell the whole, kit and caboodle for whatever that number is in approximately 5 to 7 years. So someone invests 100, the goal is to cash out at 5 to 700, 80% of that plus along the ride, 6.5 yield, which is pretty good. Obviously a very, 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 I don't like to call it risk because it does have the collateral behind it, but there is some risk. Obviously you got real estate risk, you got interest rate risk, you got recession or depression risk. I don't care how good of a money manager you are, a real estate manager, you get in those scenarios, you're losing. And then people have realized that in 2008, 2009, 2001, 2002, the COVID crisis. You've seen how things can turn. It doesn't matter how good or bad you are at something. If something disastrous hits, you're going to get, for lack of a better word, your ass kicked. So if someone can, subsidize those headwinds, they should be a winner in that kind of space. The other one's a true hedge fund. It's a long short model, total return, absolute return, where we have to perform good or bad markets. I think I specialize in equities. That's what I've been good at for the past 25 years. First 5 years are terrible, but again, it took some whippings that made me sharper, kind of like a Tom Brady scenario.
Yeah.
And I'm excited about that. Again, it's going to be a 90-10 split. So 10% of the fund manager, me, 9% to the to the investors, and we look to liquidate that in 5 to 7 years as well. And the other one's a straight income fund where I buy high quality, low beta stocks or ETFs, catch a it has to be mandatory 4% above the dividend yield, low beta. And the goal is to get, really generic fund, but get somebody better than a CD or somebody that doesn't want to be in a balanced fund and tied up in a balanced scenario with bonds. So 3 legs. We're looking to raise $100 million off that liquidation event, 5 years. The name of my funds are Vision Funds, Vision RE, which stands for Real Estate Vision 1, Vision 2. Vision 1 would be the typical the typical hedge fund, and the other one would be an income producing fund that moderate aggressive, maybe even call it balanced approach.
Very exciting. Very, very exciting. What's your motivation to operate and grow businesses?
It's the same thing when I got in the MMA world or Jiu-Jitsu world. Is just like, I knew it was for me. I couldn't explain it. So I got in Jiu-Jitsu to lose weight. I brought my son in because I grew up in inner city school for about 6 years, and I learned how to fight the wrong way, which is getting beat up. I became a pretty good fighter out doing that. And then I didn't want him to learn that same type of fighting. I wanted him to learn the right way. So he can, I don't want him going out and beating everybody up. And the kid's lucky. He's big and strong. He's real athletic, but he doesn't have a temperament, thank God. He's really special athlete. But I enrolled him into Joe Scarola's school, and which is a Gracie Baja down in Jupiter, Florida. And Joe came up to me, and I knew immediately me and this guy, we had great chemistry, no ego. For a guy that has so much, so many accolades in that sport, in MMA world and in jiu-jitsu, he's just, it's like he has a magic wand. He's my height and my weight, but he feels like he's a 300-pound muscle-bound freak. Typical black belt with special freak abilities. He'd been doing it since he was like 12 years old. Anyways, getting to the point, he came up to me. He's like, hey, man, you should try this. And keep in mind, I've been doing since, I did formal sports, intramural stuff or backyard football. Or most of the time is pick up basketball. I play for hours. I love basketball. And then I blew up my ACL, my meniscus, and some of my MCL. And I blew up my Achilles on my last play in basketball, believe it or not, which ironically I hit the 3. But so I get to take that to bed with me. But completely blew up my Achilles. And, I was 36. I was 40. I was like, man, I can't go anymore. So I got, 235, 230 pounds at 5'8". I got fat. That's the truth. And I was like, you know what? I can roll on the ground and lose some weight. And there's nothing, and this firsthand, there's nothing that gets that sweat and that heartbeat if you're rolling on the ground for 6 minutes and somebody's trying to kill you. And I knew in the first week, I was like, this is for me. Not for me in terms of like talent. I was awful. I got killed. But I knew it was for me as far as a challenge. And the same thing happened in business. When I first got my first taste of success, I was like, I got it. I got that. I got the it. I tell people about this all the time, whether it's in sports or athleticism or students or leadership. I meet people every once in a while that just got that it factor to where they go into the room and another person leading. You can't teach it. I don't know why it exists. I have it. I don't know why. Sometimes it works against me. Sometimes I don't want to be the chair. Sometimes I just want to be the Indian. Mm-hmm. Every single time I go into some kind of meeting or a board of directors, I'm always asked to take a leadership role. So I kind of got that it factor, and that's just in my heart. I've always been that guy that stands up for what he believes in. The guy that always stuck up for the guy getting picked on, or the guy just accepted a challenge. And again, here we are at 49 years old, going to be 50. It's just in my blood. That's the reason.
Yeah, I like an answer. Where do you see yourself in the next 3 to 5 years?
I see myself going to the next echelon of wealth, the $50 million to $70 million. That's real wealth. When people, me growing up like I did blue collar, the assets I have, a lot of people say, man, wow, you're doing so well. They have no idea the 5 years that I didn't get a paycheck or just the struggles to get there. That's not left my heart. When I talk to my clientele or my prospective clientele, that's real wealth. When you got guys running $50 50 plus manufacturing shops across the United States, or people that have $100 million yachts, that's wealth. And I don't care what anybody says, unless you're truly somebody sings Kumbaya and puts, ribbons on trees. Everybody likes money. I like what money. Money's not my God. God's my God. But everybody likes it. It makes your life easier. It opens up avenues, and you enjoy things that other people can't. So I would like to get to that spot to where I can enjoy that ultra net worth. So I believe that with my vision and my fortitude, that I'm going to achieve that kind of net worth. And so I see myself in 5 to 7 years. By the time I'm 55, truly retired, hopefully I'm at that $50 to $100 million mark and enjoying life. And the other thing that I love is creating a legacy for my kids and my wife. If I die, and I very well could with my temperament, my heart blows up, they're going to be, they'll be in good shape.
Yeah. I love your drive, and I love the legacy for sure.
Thank you.
If you can go back in time, what advice would you give yourself, the younger Jon? What advice would you give yourself?
Oh, man, quit being an immature knucklehead. Seriously, my life when I started my career in the investment world was girls, lifting, tanning, and football. It was through immaturity, and it was through not getting my ass kicked for a little while. You think you understand life at 24. You think you know what it takes. You think you can do anything, right? You think you're invincible. You see the 24-year-old step on the mat with an older person that has some knowledge, they get smoked. It's because their testosterone in their heart, and they don't know any better. Same thing happens in life. So, I guess if I could go back in time and say, get your head out of your ass and be a businessman, because I was late to the party by 3 years.
Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, I hear you, but you've been very successful for sure. And I remember
After a while.
The first time we rolled, we only rolled once or twice, but you are definitely very motivated. You definitely have a goal in mind, but it was an honor rolling with you then. So you're very talented, man, for sure. So let's talk business now. What's the number one most important strategy for growing your business?
You know what the truth is? But no one tells anybody,
Yeah, tell me.
don't quit.
Yeah.
Don't quit. That's it. Don't quit. I don't care what it takes. I don't care if you got to go to McDonald's and you got to flip burgers or wash cars or whatever somebody thinks it's not a good job. Because I think that every profession is a profession. I don't think there's any high or low job. But a lot of people do from that popularity contest. Let's say that's not a popular job. Let's say you're a janitor at a school. You do whatever it takes to make your paycheck to get your goal. Meaning, you start a business and it's not making any money and you're running it from 9 to 5 and you got to go at night and clean some toilets or scrub some floors or bale some hay like I did. You do what you got to do. Because what's going to happen is 95% of your competitors are going to fail. They're going to give up. And you're going to be in that 5 to 1% that stayed in. And you're going to make and you're going to learn from your losses and from your heartaches and from your achievements. And you're going to get really, really good at your trade. And then you're going to sniff out who's real and who's not. And then you're going to turn people away. But that 3 to 5 years of not giving up is key. I think that if I can give any advice to anybody is keep trying to throw touchdown passes and keep trying to hit the ball over the fence and know you're going to strike out and know you're going to throw interceptions. The person that had the most interceptions in his rookie year, do you know who that was?
Either Peyton or Brady.
Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
Peyton Manning had the most interceptions, and guess what? One of the best ever, right? So it's the same exact thing. If you talk to Nick Saban, you talk to Bill Belichick, you talk to Bill Parcells, you talk to General, James Patton, he got busted down during World War II. He was not your average general. You look at all the greats, trials, tribulation, not giving up. A lot of people don't know that Nick Saban started at Kent State. Urban Meyer started at Bowling Green. They started little schools, they didn't give up. And believe me, there's some heartaches there. Jim Tressel had some heartaches along the way. So almost got fired by his coach many times, got cussed out. Anyways, just hanging in there, not giving up, persistence breaks down resistance will eventually give you a win. I don't know when and why, but it will.
Honestly, I've talked to many business owners, very successful business owners and advisors. I love, and I mean it sincerely, I love what you just said, that answer. I think it is absolutely true, and I love it. I respect it. So thank you for sharing that. I think that's excellent.
You're welcome.
So if you're a business owner, and I know you have a lot of experience in the business world, so you're a business owner, and maybe you're looking to sell down the road, what's one thing you should maybe work on to make yourself attractive to private equity?
Oh, that's easy. An operation plan. Private equity cares about one thing and one thing only. I don't agree with it. This is the world. And I'm a truth guy. They care about the bottom line because what they're trying to do is sell to another private equity group. So if you're a $500 million private equity, there's a $5 billion private equity looking to buy you. That's your goal. That's how you 5X. They are looking for the bottom line, and they're also looking for turnkey operation. They don't give a rat's ass about if your kid's in the hospital. They don't care if your leadership quit on you. They care about, do you have a business operation plan in place that we can just turnkey this thing, hit the lever, and move on and sell this thing in 3 to 5 years for 5X ourselves? If you do not, they're going to sniff you out. They're going to look at the EBITDA. They're going to interview for the janitor all the way to the CEO. And they're so good and they're so great. And AI's involved now. They're going to sniff you out. You're either going to get a low multiple or you're not going to get an offer at all. And so if I can tell anybody, get your operation plan in place, get your business plan the most efficient as possible, and stick to your strategy. If you say you're one thing, you be that one thing. You look at most teams in football, I always use football analogies because that's my love, especially college football, is most college teams lose because they change the game plan in the middle of the second quarter because they're losing or something's not working. They scouted for 2 weeks this team. Then they practiced these plays against his team for 2 weeks up until game time, right? And then I'm a mid-second quarter because something goes wrong. They change their game plan. Now they put themselves in more of a deficit because they're going with an unprepared plan against the team that's killing them. So there's my mentor, his name is Jim Whetstone. He used to own Toyota, Warren, Acura, Borman. Many dealerships still does. A guy that started out with nothing. When I mean nothing, I mean nothing.
Wow.
He was a multimillionaire. When you talk to him, he gets you excited if you catch him on the right days. Real motivational guy. He said, work your plan your work, plan your work, work your plan. You get that down, someone's going to buy you. Someone's going to feel you're successful. That's my 2 cents.
No, great advice. What do you think's the number one biggest mistake that owners make when they're trying to sell their business? They
don't get it as profitable as it should be, or they got a lot of drama in the house, meaning that if you have some managers that hate each other and, for whatever reason are shortcutting it, or they don't have a good operations, like going back to that, then I say don't sell. If they don't have if they're not squared away, and they don't often get squared away, but let me retrace that answer to your question because I want to give you a different answer.
Yeah.
I think absentee owners show themselves, meaning you go to a McDonald's or an Arby's or XYZ tool shop and the owner's not there, I guarantee it's not running more than 60% efficiency. When the cat's away, the mouse will play every single time. My business owners as clients, my business owners that I coordinate with, their number one complaint is employees. And I can also tell you most of the time it's because they're not in the shop. If you're paying a general manager or a managerial team, it's human nature. They're going to take breaks, more breaks than necessary. They're going to let things slide because they don't want to be there 50 hours a week if they can pay XYZ $18 an hour administrator to do just enough to keep the place in business. Again, you're going to sell. Your private equity is not going to buy a half-ass operation. These guys are lean and mean, and they know exactly what they're looking for. So that's the answer.
No, I agree with that. What I've heard definitely in my business broker world is that private equity ruins companies. Do you think that's true? Do you not think that's true?
Yes.
What's your thoughts?
1,000% true.
Yeah. Why?
1,000% true. But I will tell you, the private equity firm that I'm creating, and here's the truth: I don't need to sell it, and I don't need the wealth. I want it. Private equity doesn't have that. Other private equity don't have that luxury. They have to answer to investors to get to that $50 to $100 million mark. Any way you get there, and one of the ways they get there is they cut the efficiency of the operation, which is counterproductive to what I just said. But if they can make widgets of $17 an hour versus $23 an hour and do the Pareto rule, which is an 80-20 kick out, they're going to do it because at the end of the day, they're going to show this balance sheet to a private equity firm bigger than them that might just care about the numbers. They don't go on the inside interview the staff. And so what that does is it ruins it. And so I got offered a bigger number for my firm from private equity. I got offered $3 million more for my firm than with the current owners because they were private equity and had the funds. And they wanted a 5-year contract, not 3. And I didn't want to be in there for 5. I wanted 3. And I turned it down because the people I were interviewing were human beings. The people took it from my firm, Joe and Adam, and they had human beings that they were managing. And private equity might be human beings, but they act like robots. So I have clients that were very wealthy clients, doctors that sold their practice private equity on 3-year buyouts. And by year 2, they gave up the last payment just to get the hell out of there. That's how rough it was. And that was my sign. That was my answer of why I didn't want to sell my firm to private equity. Because the truth is they call this weak or not. Some people think it's a strength. I love my clients. I wanted my clients to be with somebody who cared versus money. And I made them a promise, and I'm still on the team with the new buyers and help them out. And it's working. So it's a long answer to a very simple question. Yes, private equity has done some damage to the existing businesses they buy.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. So I've seen some lawyer posts, about the changing world, the market right now. What's your thoughts? That's a general question. What's your thoughts on the economy, things going on right now?
The top 10% it's turned into what's called a European economy. I pay attention to Europe a lot. I just went there for 2 weeks. In Europe, the top 10% of the wealth has the best living. Everybody else, the bottom 90 is there with the socialism, and they're good with a small condo, public transportation. They can drink Starbucks and have a smoke, and smoking is very prevalent over there, by the way. I hate it because it stinks. They just want to enjoy life. Now, here's the irony. Even with the high smoking, they live longer than us. So I'm not saying they're right or wrong, but, I'm a true blue, red, right, all-American, right? So I believe that, you should have the opportunity to earn as much as you want. Somebody coming over here with a loaf of bread and 2 nickels can be a billionaire. I love that about this country. They're taking that away. So the top 10% of our country are really enjoying life because they're holding all the cards. The bottom 90%, I think, are hurting. You look at who can afford $6, $7 for milk and $3 for bread. You look at your utility bills are going triple. Pay wage, we're in stagflation, right? Wages have not gone up with inflation. And as much as a supporter as I am of President Trump, they have done a terrible job of handling the economy. They have not reduced inflation. And the only way you can reduce inflation is 2 things. Raise interest rates, they're decreasing them instead. So that's enough. Oversupply the market. They are taking the tariff money and they're putting into reducing our debt, which I love. But initially, I think what they need to do, take the tariff money and put into businesses that are existing and helping them with payroll or building or whatever. Say you employ 100 people making $30 an hour. We're going to give you $10 million to pay off your building And now you can produce more product, hire more workers, or supply the market your services and product and get inflation down. They have not done that. And I see the conferences, and I just flat out call it out like I see it. It's bullshit. They are not reducing inflation. And all you need to do is look at your utility bills and go to the grocery store. So I think, unfortunately, we're going into a society that have and have nots. AI, like it or not, is coming like a freight train. They're going to take that $15 to $20 an hour job that XYZ family needs. That hurts. Not everybody can be a tradesman and an AI technician. So you want to know the truth, but I think we're in really big trouble. I do. And that's one of the reasons why I'm going to the private equity firm, because I think, we raise our kids very strict. They have to earn everything. They have chores. In order to get screen time, they have to do X amount of activity outside. We really are, I'm very proud of very good hands-on. Even with that work ethic installed to our kids, I don't know if there's going to be jobs like we have there. And so I'm trying to create as much wealth as I can to where they have something to fall back on in case it's not there. But I listen to C-suite stuff, podcasts like we're doing now from very high levels. I listen to these C-suites of S&P 500 companies. These CEOs, their number one concern is 50% or more of all white-collar jobs will be gone in the next 10 years. Gone. So you're either going to have to be a plumber, electrician, or be somebody that can manage AI. And I don't know what the middleman to upper level management is going to do for a living. It's not going to be there because AI can do things faster and more efficient than we can.
Yeah. Well, I knew you had that healthcare background. What do you think about healthcare? What about the nurses and stuff like that?
Disaster. As much, again, I think there's a time and place for everything. There's two places I think that more left and more centered, right-centered views need to be in place for the bigger picture, the greater good, and that's healthcare and education. I don't think that I think we severely underpay our teachers and we don't give them the tools that we should be giving them to. They want to clock in and clock out and get the hell home. They're constantly being threatened to be sued. And the same thing goes into healthcare. Healthcare, a lot of the private equity hospitals, a lot of hospitals have been bought by private equity. You look at we have a hospital desert here in Mahoney County. We have 2 hospitals. The one's a great hospital, but they only hold Southwoods, run excellent by the Marinsky family, is excellent, but they're not a full service hospital. And then you got the other one, I don't know, it's the Catholic one that just changed names, I think run by Stewart Health. My experiences there have been terrible, but I don't really blame them because there's only so many nurses and nurses' aides and doctors and physicians assistants to go around. So you got this much need and this much need for service, and you got this much help. And then everything is cost prohibited. The CEO of those hospitals, they're barely turning a profit, if any. We are caught in a trap. So I think that, I don't know if you're looking for my answer on this, but I think we need to get the generals, government driven, diabetes, food, all the things that health insurance companies are pounded on for profitability. Most insurance companies make less than a 1% margin of profit. I couldn't operate at 1% profit.
Yeah.
Think about that. Most health insurance companies, Anthem, Aetna, 1% profit. So that's a challenge to get any kind of profit. And like it or not, we're a profitability capitalist society. We need to take some of that pain off of Aetna and United Healthcare and Blue Cross, Anthem, et cetera, and say, okay, the government's going to pick up the necessities, the physicals, the flus, the broken arms, the things that don't require a week stay in a hospital, right? We don't, we're not talking about open heart surgeries and knee replacements. We're talking about just the basics. And in return, the government's going to pick up the student loan for the physician or the PA, right? Or the MP, the nurse practitioner. That's the solution. Getting money out of the way is the problem. These companies are designed to take as much profit as possible. That's a capitalist society. But I think healthcare is going in the shitter, if you want the truth. Yeah, and it's getting worse. I think like where we live in Florida, the middle class, the upper wealthy, they do concierge medicine. If it's a paid subscription, right? There's concierge hospitals in Florida. In Youngstown, Ohio, Warren, wherever, we don't have the wealth here to support that. They're already paying $1,000 to $2,000 a month for their health care. Here's another $500 bill just to get a subscription with your doctor. That ain't going to work. Where people are making millions of dollars a year, that does work. They don't care. So we got to have a happy medium, and we haven't got there. And the only way you can do is get money out of it.
Yeah, no, I love that. And let me just give you. So you're the governor or president for a day. What are the top couple things you would do?
Well, first thing I would do is I would attack healthcare. I would go and I would say, and I think I have a vision for Mahoney County, Trumbull County. What can we do to attract business here? Well, here's what we don't have: great weather, right? We don't have an enormous amount of highly educated Harvard people here, right? We do have the greatest working families in the United States, the nicest people. You know how many times I'm in Florida and they think that I'm like playing them because I'm nice and courteous or just being polite or doing something for them with nothing in return. They think that like I'm being like a salesman. I said, no, we're all like this. They say, man, people like you don't exist here. I said, everybody where I live is like this. We generally just are just good people. So we got great people. We got people that are willing to work for a fair wage. We got an unbelievable water system. We got Lake Erie up the road. We got Meander Reservoir. We got tons of lakes to get water. Believe it or not, that's scarce in the Midwest. And we got square footage that's affordable here. So what we should do is, what's good? Like I would call XYZ plant in South Carolina or Tennessee or a liberal state where they're getting their Illinois, where they're getting their eyeballs taxed. What is it that we need to do to get you here? What is it we need to do as a governor to get you here? Is it we cover the cost of healthcare? Or we subsidize it sometime? Or do we buy a building for you and then you owe us that in 10 years? We, what's it called when they offer in Columbiana County? It's an abatement, giving abatement on payroll tax. So there's got to be something that we're not giving you that's causing you from not being here, because we got the talent, we got the drive, we got the humanity, we got everything here, but you're not coming here. And so I would just point blank say, give us a reasonable slate of what we need to do to get you here, and we're going to do that. In return, you got to pay people X amount of wage, X amount of benefits, and stay here at least 10 years and give us a return on investment. And you buy this out after these years. And that's what I would do. I think healthcare is the key. The other thing I would do is I'm on the board of the chamber. I talked to a guy a couple 2 years ago. I said, we're the place to retire. If you're in California, San Diego, California, and you're making a couple $100,000 a year, you're not retiring.
Yeah.
Or your retirement sucks.
Right.
If you're in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, or if you're in Palm Beach, Florida, you're not retiring, or your retirement sucks. You know what $200,000 a year is going to be in Youngstown, Ohio? I'm talking Canfield, Poland, Howland. You know what kind of lifestyle you're going to have here? You're going to think you're in Disneyland every day.
Right.
So we need to have a target audience and a target marketing campaign designed to those folks. Say, again, we'll give you all these things, but your estate now, this is for the people, 25% of your estate or 50% of your estate goes to us. So that's the long game, right? But that's to attract people back here. We need our net worth coming back. Youth is moving out. They have no reason to want to be there. I didn't want to be here either when I was 18. I went to the military and I went to Dallas, Texas. Beautiful place to live. It was awesome. I can't imagine being 25 years old and living. I really can't if you're somebody's a go-getter. But you know what? This is a great place to live. When you're 45, going to that 55 red zone mark, this is a great place to live. Mm-hmm. You get as much house as you want. Cost of living is unbelievable to live. You get great people, great pizza, great pasta, great Italian fest. Like there's so much here for people that want to just relax, right? So that's the second thing I would do as governor or mayor. And then as president of the United States, I would do what I can to say, listen, you don't like me and I don't like you, but here's the truth. We got to get this country back on track. You give me like a union bargaining chip. Like you give me what you need. I'm going to give you what I need. Let's meet in the middle. And in 4 years, let's get angry about each other on the election. But in the meantime, for these next 3 years, tell me what you want from me. Tell me what you need from me to make sure that we pass a budget. Every single half year, it's like we're going through now, the budget's not going to pass. And it's because both parties are politically tied to their agenda and their voters. Yeah. For me, something as important as the budget, paying the military is number one. I don't care who's on what side. Let's get our military guys paid. So my point is, I guess overall, it sounds easy on paper. It sounds easy on a podcast, but my number one goal would be to get to where Reagan, this is by memory, is it Tip O'Neill? There was a speaker of the House who was on the other side, and they would have violent arguments throughout the day. But then after the shift was done, they would go and have a drink together and figure out how they could work together and get our country in the right track. And then when, there was the Cold War scare, the leader of the Democratic Party, this is by memory, I don't know because I was young then, but the leader told his caucus, I don't care what happens, we're supporting President Reagan right now because we need all hands on deck. That would never happen right now. Donald Trump could give away gold bars and free retirements to every person in his country, left and right, and Jeffries would find a way to hang him on it. Donald Trump, same thing. Nancy Pelosi would do the same thing, and he would find a way. Jeffries needs to put all the crazies on the left. He would find a way to attack him. There's no way we can survive on this mode. There's no way. Yeah. There's something crazy that comes across our desk from CNN or Fox News that's half truths that's turning Americans against each other, and that's number one with me. What can we do to where our values are more what this country is built on to everybody's allowed to vote without getting shot, an opinion, or getting scrutinized in the papers or in social media? Where do we go? What can we do to get back to that? And that's what I'd attack first.
No, I totally agree. We do need to work together for sure. I agree. So if you are a business owner, last couple of questions here, Jon. If you are a business owner, what are a couple pieces of advice you would give them to kind of help them get through this storm right now?
Cash is king. Load up on cash. I don't care what you need to do. Load up on cash and have your equity lines open. Max them out. If you don't need them, put that cash in your bank. Because what happens is banks have the right to close your equity line in turbulent times. I have to believe that you've seen that in your business owners, right? You know, everybody's happy when things are happy, right? But you see 2008, 2009, business lines shore up. Okay, so you got to pay 6% for that money you don't need. Who gives a shit? You could survive, right? You could survive to the next round if you have money in the bank to make payroll. The other thing is I would say culture. And I'm terrible at this because I'm a very dictator type of my way, militant type of leader. But that's not the new way. The new way is, and that's why Saban and Belichick and the guys that lead like I do retire. It's a new culture. The kids that are graduating college today are smarter. More importantly, they got more balls than we had. Like when I graduated college, somebody offered me $60,000 a year in benefits. I said, where do I sign up? Like now we got kids not even showing up to the interview. Ghosting employers is what they call them. They think it's fun. They're more about time than money. So you got to build a culture to where, and which I hate, but the truth is the truth. You got to pat them on the back and have X amount of social media a day for XY secretary and this and that. And you got to build that culture to where they look forward to going to work versus a paycheck. And so the two answers are, like I said, get your cash flow high and your equity lines open for bad times. And then also build a culture of success and something that's outside your boundaries. And that was honestly one of the reasons why I sold too. I recognized that was my weakness. The old school way of come in a suit and tie, get it, if you're not early or late, if you're leaving early, I'm just that guy. You better answer the phone correctly. You're not going to keep the employees. The transition of wealth in this country, or kids are willing to live in their basements forever or something. There's a reason why they're willing to walk out on a job. And you got to find out what that heart is, what that bullseye is, and go from there.
Yeah, no, I agree. Last question for you. What opportunities do you see? If you're a business owner or people want to be in business, what opportunities are out there for you? I
don't see many, Bill.
Yeah.
That's the truth. AI. If you're in your 20s, you better master AI. The opportunity, which is self-destructing, you're going to have to find out a way to make AI work for you and be profitable for you. If not, it's going to replace your job and you're going to be on socialism. I hate telling you that because it's very negative. I'm a very positive guy. I always look at the cup half full, overflowing. I see a lot of pain coming, and and I don't see a lot of opportunity. Opportunity is going to be in the trades. Robots, thank God, can't cut grass and cut shrubs. Robots can't cut hair. Not right now, they can't. Robots can't climb a pole and put electric up or run plumbing through a house. You know what they can do? They can do accounting. They can do a lot of legal. My career is history. 10 years, I think only the elite wealthy will have investment advisors. Yeah, the kids nowadays inheriting wealth, they'll hire what's called a robo-advisor, which is AI, to get their 8%, pay a quarter percent fee, and they're out. That's coming. Life insurance, PNC agents, gone. So you got the opportunity. I don't see a lot of lemonade from the lemon. I don't. But the small lemonade is AI.
Yeah, no, perfect. Well, definitely, listen, I can probably talk to you forever. You have a wealth of knowledge for sure. But I want to thank you for being on the show, and thank you for your time, and thank you for all your knowledge. I appreciate you.
Considered an honor to be on your show, and I'll be here anytime you need.
Perfect. Well, thanks again, Jon. Thank you, audience, for being on the show. This has been another exciting episode of Steel City Growth. See you next time. That's a wrap on another episode of Steel City Growth. Thanks for joining us. For show notes and more, visit steelcitygrowth.live. Until next time.